What's going on, y'all? KM Best here, your favorite 69th ranked Marvel Snapper, here to talk to you about what might be the absolute best deck in the game after the release of Hope Summers, and to nobody's surprise, because she goes in this archetype very well, we're going to be talking about Thanos. The nerf to Lockjaw left Thanos in a relatively precarious state. The more Thanos became a deck that was less focused around cheating energy and playing big 6-drops and Scar stuff, the more Thanos became vulnerable to Loki. Hope Summers' release has provided an outlet that allows the deck to bridge the gap between being a deck that is entirely focused on 6-drops and still actually being able to play cards in the game of Marvel Snap. Between Hope Summers, Time Stone, Psylocke, and Wave, there are a ton of ways to accelerate out good cards earlier than you should be able to have access to them. This deck is even more consistent at doing that than the Lockjaw version, although it does come with the cost of, I would say, overall power. You are more consistently getting your cards on the board, but you are very much more limited in terms of you are a ramp deck. You are not really able to do like the incredibly unfair turns of like Cull Obsidian plus a stone and a Lockjaw. That stuff was the bailiwick of the old Thanos deck, and it unfortunately remains in the past. That said, make no mistake, Thanos is a ramp deck. This deck is playing Time Stone, it is playing Psylocke, it is playing Hope Summers, it is playing Wave, and it is playing a vast number of very expensive payoffs in order to make those cards good. A lot of these payoffs are going to cost 6 and have more than 10 power, which gives you some additional synergy with Scar. One of the major advantages that this deck has over what you'd say a traditional Corvus Glaive or Electro ramp deck is that it just cheats harder and it just goes bigger. Blob in this deck is obviously very gigantic, but also you as a ramp deck typically are locked out from playing cards like Shang-Chi and Scar on the final turn of the game, playing multiple cards. Obviously, you can't do that with Electro. This deck basically gives you all the upside of being an Electro deck with none of the downside, and then it staples even more upside, like being able to run Shang-Chi and having Scar in the deck onto that as well. This is a deck that is built around putting an obscene amount of points on the board, usually enough points to win 2 out of 3 lanes, sometimes enough points to win 3 out of 3 lanes, and yes, there are some pretty defined weaknesses. So for example, you could run into things like Living Tribunal that go taller, like there are decks that will be able to go taller. But even decks like Phoenix Force are in a situation where you can reasonably contest and try to go bigger than their max power on a location if you get a little bit lucky, and so you end up in a situation where the fact is that the sheer amount of power you put out is the main selling point to this deck. There's a lot of things happening, but on a basic level, you're just putting a bunch of power on the board. Psylocke is a card that I have typically been against in Thanos lists like this, but this is such a payoff-based deck that just having even a Psylocke in there can really help you out. One of the things that is different about this Thanos list compared to previous iterations of Thanos is that most of the time you're looking to accelerate to is having 6 energy. You want to be playing an early Magneto, an early Blob. That's the kind of stuff this deck is looking to do. That said, you are also totally fine with accelerating into a Professor X, instantly winning a lane, and this deck can do that too. But the main thing that's different about this deck and previous iterations of Thanos is the fact that you're going to be in these situations where you can very easily accelerate to an extremely large amount of energy thanks to the power of your ramp and the fact that you can have multiple ramp cards in hand. For example, it's turn 3, you play Time Stone Psylocke. That's pretty compelling going into a turn 4 where you get to play a 6-drop. Jeff is Jeff. He was in every single Thanos deck before they were playing Hope and Professor X, and spoiler alert, this deck is playing Hope and Professor X. So yeah, Jeff is definitely staying in this one. Hope Summers creates an awkward situation with a lot of your 5-drops, which is you play Hope Summers on turn 3, and yes, sometimes you can Time Stone into her, but it's not very often, so you play her on turn 3 most of the time, and then you play a card in her on turn 4, and suddenly you're accelerating into a 6-drop, and you're like, why am I even bothering with these 5-drops? For this reason, the only 5-drops we're really running in this are Professor X, who we're using just to like instantly win a lane. That's what he's doing. That's kind of it. He's just there to do that. Sometimes he'll protect a guy from Shang-Chi. He's useful, but like that's pretty much all he's doing. And then there is Vision, which is a great card to put in a Hope Summers lane to accelerate and pass the buff on to other turns. We're not running Devil Dino because this deck actually tends to run lower on cards because of the amount of ramp you have. You're playing a lot of cards in order to ramp out your stuff, and then you're also playing a lot of stuff with that ramp. It's very easy for you to have one extra energy and get that stone onto the board, and so Devil Dino ends up falling a little bit by the wayside, and that is a consequence of what Hope Summers is doing. Very powerful card, definitely recommend it, extremely strong right now. Wave is a 3/5 with massive upside for you, and if you're playing against an opponent who does not have that same level of benefit from this card, this is like just an unbelievably well-statted card for what it does. I would actually, if I were them, seriously consider asking the question of why is this a 3/5 in the first place? There's kind of no reason for that, and this deck kind of proves it. She was so much better than I thought she would be. There are even situations you can put yourself in where you give yourself 8 energy on like turn 5 or turn 6, having played a wave. Like if you play Hope Summers Greenstone Wave on turn 4, like you can actually just play 2 6-drops on turn 5. That's pretty gross. And like the wave stuff here is already accelerating your early game, right? Like you want to be waving into big stuff, into Scar. But the fact that it overlaps with the Hope Summers stuff, that when you have multiple payoffs or multiple engines in your hand, you don't end up just throwing them away. That's what reminds me the most of the old Lockjaw builds, is that you are able to play these multi-engine games because your engines sort of stack multiplicatively. It's not as good as the old Lockjaw builds, but it is quite strong. Shang-Chi is one of the biggest upsides of Thanos compared to other decks in the ramp style. Shang-Chi is obviously an extremely powerful card, and you probably need to run Shang-Chi in a deck that can afford to run Shang-Chi, therefore we are running Shang-Chi. Cull Obsidian is plain and simple a 4/10 with basically no restrictions in this deck. Obviously, you have some pretty ridiculous draws with this guy. I've had games that go, Stone on 1, Psylocke on 2, Cull Obsidian in the Stone Lane, Scar. That stuff's just too many points for people to deal with reasonably. Extremely powerful card. Extremely hard to replace. People often ask what you can replace Cull Obsidian with. My best guess is like Iron Lad, but I'm not even sure that's good because you really don't have a lot of things you're looking to hit off the Iron Lad. But like, hitting a Jeff can be good, things like that. But like you hit a Blob, it's kind of awkward pretty fast. You hit a Magneto, it's kind of awkward pretty fast. There's just, I don't know. It's hard to replace. The fact that it's a 4-cost card that discounts Scar is basically the biggest reason it's in here, but also 10 points can win you a lane. That's really important. Professor X being in this deck is a bit of a consequence of how Hope Summers has changed how your curve works. Professor X is here so you can be like, all right, I'm going to play a Blob and on turn 4, and then I'm going to Professor X the Blob lane so they can't Shang-Chi it, and then I'm going to win another lane with another big guy. Like stuff like that. Like I'm going to play a big guy on 4, Prof X that lane so I just guaranteed win it, and then win another lane with another big guy. That's the kind of stuff that you can pull off pretty reasonably with this deck. Obviously, there are still, like Time Stone and Psylocke into Prof lines, but generally, because of the way Hope works, you're not actually doing that all too much. It's really just like backup Kyera that sometimes wins you a game, because Kyera ends up being a little bit worse in a deck like this because a lot of what you're playing early is like a Cull Obsidian, so you end up in a situation where it's like, okay, I want to have this sort of 50-50 between I can just randomly win a lane with this and it can protect my big guys. That's what Prof is doing here. Vision is a pretty solid card. Vision is, of course, a 5/8 that moves. Obviously, it's been in every Thanos deck forever. There's synergy with Professor X if you want to move the Vision over and then play the Prof X in a lane. There's synergy with Hope Summers. There's synergy with basically everything this deck is trying to do. Great card, but one major downside, it does not discount Scar, and it also costs 5, and so a lot of the time it can actually be pretty awkward to work this guy into your curve when you're ramping as hard as you tend to do. That means that you often end up playing 6-drops instead of this guy, because you'll often find yourself, okay, it's turn 5, I have 6 or 7 energy, would I rather play a Vision or would I rather just go for the 6-drop? And a lot of the time you end up going for the 6-drop. Blob, strongest there is. He remains probably the biggest on average 6-drop in the entire game with the exception of the Infinaut, and he has no play requirement the way the Infinaut does. This is an excellent card. He is a Thanos staple. I would not consider removing him. Thanos himself is doing a pretty decent amount of work here. Like, obviously, he's giving you the stuff that you can use to enable your Hope Summers. He's putting some real ability to interact with locations in the deck with Reality Stone. Like, there actually are matchups that would get so much worse if Reality Stone didn't exist. basically any Magic deck, you have to like start seriously thinking, I'm going to hold the Reality Stone the entire game for that to work. And that kind of stuff really does matter. The fact that Thanos just gives you free tools to interact with, that you are no longer converting those free tools into like big guys thanks to Lockjaw, but you are just using them as intended while also cheating energy and playing large men. That's really what this deck is about. Scar is honestly really good in a deck like this. Like, you are able to do things like, thanks to Hope Summers, you play your Hope Summers, you have a 1-drop in the lane already, you put a Cull Obsidian there, you play like a 1-drop and then a Scar next turn. It's just like, there's a bunch of really good stuff this guy does. And Scar being like your sort of second Cull Obsidian means that Cull Obsidian coming down sort of snowballs in a way that is otherwise difficult to achieve, which is why it's so hard to replace Cull Obsidian. I think you start really questioning if you need Scar in those situations. I'm not sure. Luckily, I don't have to ask myself these questions, but you might, unfortunately. Scar is excellent, but a large part of his excellence is due to Cull Obsidian. I'm happy to play him at 4. I'm overjoyed to play him at 2. Both of those things happen a pretty decent amount of the time because this deck is so invested in ramping. He is very often going to be at those costs. Getting him to 2 is the real critical breakpoint because it allows you to play him alongside a Shang-Chi on the final turn of the game, or a waived card. But like, most of the time he's going to just be a 4 that you play after Cull Obsidian, and it's like, that's really good. Magneto is so damn good. Like, one of the things that I think is underrated about Thanos is the amount of free roll interaction it has. You look at a deck like this and you look at Living Tribunal, and it's like, okay, there's no way Living Tribunal ever loses the matchup, right? But between Magneto and Reality Stone that you basically just get for free, you just would always have this stuff just for free, you just have it, you actually end up being able to play that matchup. I'm not saying it's favored, but it goes from like this thing where it's like, if you didn't have this free roll interaction in the form of Magneto and your stones, you would basically always lose, but you have it so you don't. And you just get that for free. A matchup that would be like 0% goes to like, I don't know, somewhere between 40 and 50%. It's just like, that is the kind of thing that Thanos does that's so unfair. This is a typical ramp deck, except it free rolls all this stuff that's good against stuff that typically beats ramp. And that's the key to why this deck is good. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. We're going to throw some gameplay from High Infinite with this deck onto the end of this so you can watch and get a sense for how this deck tends to play out. I think this is a top contender in the new metagame. This is an absolutely excellent deck. To nobody's surprise, Thanos is inevitable. Remember, of course, if you made it this far in the video, please do like and subscribe. Press the bell, turn notifications on. I just hit the mic again. I'm very bad at this. I need all the support I can get. Thank you so, so much. I've been KM Best. You've been phenomenal. Enjoy the gameplay. 90s feel a bit wonky right now? How do you mean? I think I'm probably supposed to snap a Mind Stone. When my hand is Mind Stone with Power Stone, Soul Stone, I'm very likely to get something stupid here. And if I get got, I get got, right? That sucks. There's a chance Los Diablos base fucks me hard here. Holy shit. Can I still win? Probably. Holy shit! I'm the god. I'm the actual the god. Ain't nobody better than me. You like Pixie? We're gonna buy her today. It's Friday somewhere. Right, but it's also probably like Wednesday somewhere, right? I don't feel like it's Friday somewhere is logical. Is it actually Wednesday somewhere? I really wouldn't know. It's not? Okay, I don't know shit. That's fine. All right, not gonna lie, that's tough. It's not how time works. American moment. Yes. Holy shit, we did it. I'm a genius. Boy, I don't like that. Uh-huh. That's only 12, sir. That's only 12, sir. That needed to be like 20. That needed to be much larger than it was. What up, Intero? It's fun just inconsistent. The question is, like, what's it actually doing for you? Okay, I guess we're both drawing off that. Okay, unfortunate about my Jeff. I mean, I don't hate this. Give me a card. Give me some guys. Uh-huh. Thought about Hope Summers into War Machine into Galactus on Sanctum Sanctorum. No, I have not thought of that. Props for you for thinking of that. Next turn I get Vision Time Stone or like some like 6-drop Time Stone kind of deal, right? I get 6 drop plus time stone, so I go to 8 if I want it. How long until these 3 edibles kick in? I have no idea, buddy. I'm trying something. Which Nico are you? I don't know what Nico you are. Okay. I have literally no idea what Nico that is. Whoa, they snapped me. What do you suppose they're snapping me about here? What do you suppose they're snapping me about here? Nico plus Darkhawk? No, I mean, I buy it, but I just shrink the Darkhawk with my Blob, correct? Like, my bet here is they play Darkhawk on the left, and I just shrink it to death with Blob. Shang? I don't know if this deck has Shang in it. Is that literally just a Darkhawk? Holy shit, dude. You are not legally allowed to make that play. Wait, no, Thanos, are you shitting me? We're fine. Wait, it died? Oh my god! So much stuff happened there. The first one was we got the Thanos bug where it thought it was 20 and it stopped eating there. The second one was they blew up their own goddamn Darkhawk, even though it wasn't going to win anyway. It was 14, it wasn't going to win anyway, but like, goddamn. Their job and do things like that. We can do an unveiling on stream. I would be absolutely interested in that. Hell yeah. Perfect. Air Omega Lol. Oh, yeah. She's a little Omega Lol. Yeah. Whoa! Opponent emoted as bait. I thought I had this guy muted. Oh, I'm dead. I see what's happening here. I've died. I have failed the vibe check. Order? Order? Or is he just, like, fucking around to trick me into staying? I feel like he's just fucking around to trick me into staying. Yeah, I'll lose 4. I don't care. Wait, if I played mid, I win. Huh. I mean, I'm dead now. Holy shit, I'm not dead now. Anyway, that's how you play against Phoenix Force. The methods of playing against Phoenix Force are basically pick 2 lanes where they're impossible to, like, they can't go tall enough, right? They have 8s, right? It's 32s. And when there's a squirrel in those lanes, it's even easier. Ooh. Professor but no Eliath? Yeah. Actual people with real lives watching stream. It is kind of fucked up, right? This seems good. Post is a big gamer. I know he plays Snap some, actually. It is a thing I'm aware of. Is there a world where I'm supposed to do a Soulstone thing instead of just playing a fucking guy here? Like, am I supposed to do, like, Soulstone Abomination or some shit? Or Soulstone Cull Obsidian? They have a lot of cards in their hand. It's freaking me out. Just a lot of shit that could happen here. Oh, God. We're so dead. Oh? We're not so dead? We're so alive? We're so alive, chat! What am I worried about? I generally like Grand Centrals existing. I'm not saying I 100% like Grand Centrals existing, but like general, I am general pro Grand Central. See if I can win the rest of this game with 14 power. What if it pulls Shang? What if they play Shang? Don't give a shit. We did it. Kaboom! That's a big number. I feel like we're getting Eliath. I was thinking it was Magento. I don't think anyone expected the Atom. 17 was kind of my thought process. If Atom were a real card, we would have lost so hard. Yeah, I mean, but you know, luckily. Luckily, that's not something we really have to worry about, is it? Fuck me. I am gonna lose to Living Tribunal. Yeah. I think we win, but I'm not positive. 5, 10, 15. Oh, shit. No, it's like 11, right? We're gonna win? Yeah, it's like 11. Okay, we're good. Casserole! Whoa. Whoa, what the fuck does that mean? Am I getting fucking Phoenix Forced? Oh, that looks Phoenix Force to me. That looks dangerously Phoenixy. Wait, they got all of that? Holy shit. They got the energy and... That's actually so fucking illegal. Alright, I'm like the most dead player of all time. Only a card draw? It looked like they got both. That looked like both to me. It's like a kind of possible win, but very unlikely kind of deal. Okay, now we're just dead. We just died instantly off of that. Oh shit, hold on. Woo! Let's go! Woo! We're back, baby. Never in doubt. Never in doubt.